Hi and welcome everybody. This
Hello.
is this is Sparkle and I'm here with a co-host today by the name of Epiphany. This is a special addition to the SisStar Cipher. First I want to welcome everybody. It's another powerful episode here on Reality Speaks TV where we bring you real people, real talk in real time. I'm your host, Sparkle Denise, and today we're creating a space for a conversation that so many people experience silently, but rarely speak about openly. As we recognize Mental Health Awareness Month, today's discussion is centered around grief, emotional wellness, healing, and the journey of learning how to let go after losing someone significant. Loss can affect the mind, body, and spirit, and emotions in ways people don't always see. Sometimes grief looks like sadness, and sometimes it looks like anxiety, isolation, numbness, anger, exhaustion, numbness, depression, overworking, or simply just trying to survive each moment as it comes. Today is not about pretending to have all the answers, it's about honesty, reflection, and most of all, compassion. And reminding people that healing is not weakness. Whether someone is grieving the loss of a loved one, a relationship, a friendship, a dream, or even an old version of themselves, we want people to know that you are not alone. And today I'm honored to be joined by first time guest co host, and won't be last, Epiphany, as we come together for this special episode called The Weight of Goodbye, letting go after losing someone significant. So, whether you're watching from home or en route someplace, we hope that this conversations we meet you with an open heart. So, this is SisStar Cipher, and this is Reality Speaks TV. Hi, Tiffany. Hi, Epiphany.
Hi, Sparkle.
Good to have you here. I'm so happy that you're here. Welcome.
Thank you
I
for
want you.
having me.
I want you all in the Reality Speaks SisStar Cipher to welcome my longtime friend. We've known each other for decades at this point. We talked about each other's children, and each other's children is pretty much grown. When we first met each other, our children were babies. So can you imagine? It feels good to link up again with one of the shining stars. So Epiphany, before we get deep into today's conversation, let's lighten the energy a little bit first. I'm gonna ask you an icebreaker.
Okay.
So, if your personality was a song, and okay, let me start with the song. If your personality was a song and a weather forecast and a meal all at the same time, what would that song be? The weather,
Um,
personality, and the food. What would that song be?
hmm. The song, I'm not really sure. You got to give me some time on that one. But the weather is definitely about 65 degrees. Not too cold, not too hot. And what was the third thing you asked me?
Like meal. I know it was a
Meal
little
fried
complex,
chicken.
but I want to be a
We,
little
we
bit
doing
deeper.
fried chicken.
Fried chicken, something simple and quick.
We doing fried chicken. Yes. Why not?
Yeah, why
We're going
not?
over the way.
Keep it
Well
simple.
seasoned,
And who gonna say no to fried chicken? First of all, period.
right?
So, I guess I'll answer the same question. If it was a meal, that is a tough one. A song for a meal, the weather, and what would I say? I would say, "Can I get a refill? Can I get a
Oh,
Can I get
okay.
a because it's right now it's like feels like it's 80 degrees. I want a refill of that. I want a refill of the food or the song. And then I also want I want the heat. I want the heat. I want the feeling. And that's what it's gonna be. That's what I would pick for my stuff. All right.
Okay.
So that's by L.A. Varney. I think that's the name of her. I forgot.
For the music, for me, it's gonna be "Lovely Day." I forgot who sings that. You know that's
Oh,
"Lovely Day."
Bill
Yeah,
Withers. It's gonna
yeah,
be a lovely
yeah,
day. Lovely
yeah.
day.
While we eating that chicken, 65 degrees.
Right in the middle. Not too hot, not too cold. Just chilling. Yes, I love it. So the question that I do have for us today to start us out with, because I did mention that May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and I know that's something important to both of us both. As we, do this on a day-to-day basis, we cheer people up, we show up for people, that's just what we do. But I wanted to ask you, Epiphany, what does grief look like to you personally?
Grief for me is losing pieces of yourself. It's sort of like losing a limb. You have to learn how to live again, without that part of your body, you know,
Mm,
psychologically, mentally, physically. You have to learn how to live again.
wow. Losing a limb. That's kind of, because I'm thinking about, excuse me, if somebody like just break their leg or their arm, temporarily they'll be without that arm or without that limb, So I've watched people with having to wear a cast on either their foot or their hand, and it's not easy to get around. Like, we kind of take things for granted. So when you said losing a limb, that's what grief is like. Like, that is, it got me thinking. So I would
Yeah,
say grief for me is like it's like the elephant in the room that you try to hide. But it's in your chest. Like, it hits you out of nowhere. For me, it hits me like Mother's Day, holidays, like, or just even if
well,
a memory of a person, person, place, a thing, it kind of hit. I think it's like that subconscious, like, hit you out of nowhere.
yeah,
Yeah, that elephant in the room that we act like we try. No, I don't know what else to say about grief. Grief it's enough to unpack, you know.
yeah.
But
I
the
mean,
grief is not only a person either, right?
no, it's definitely not only a person.
Because it could be like I'm thinking like maybe if you lose a job or
Mm-hmm.
you lose your place that you were living at or a
Yeah,
relationship, friendship, because sometimes you got to leave friendships alone or sometimes people kind of fall off on the wayside. All of that could come with some grief, unbeknownst to us.
yeah. And I'll piggyback on what you just said. Friendship grief, grieving over a friendship. So in the process of me grieving, people that I've lost that are really significant to me, it's kind of easier for me to let people go. But I grieve them overnight. So the next day I'll
Mm,
wake up and say, I lost someone so significant to me. So to lose that person, at this point, it's like, hey, you know,
yeah,
there's no greater loss than those people that I lost that meant everything for me. So it's kind of a bad thing, but I kind of grieve people overnight, like friendships or relationships. If it's time to move on, 24 hours, I go to sleep. Not saying the next day I won't care, but I'll care a little less.
right,
Tomorrow.
right, right. Yeah, it's a process. And then some grief, like for me, I still grieve during high school, elementary school, and high school. Like when I graduated from graduation, I was sad in the mug. I wasn't gonna see my friends no more.
You wanted another year?
I'm dead
Another year?
serious. I'm telling you. I'm 45 years
It's
old,
the
still
same.
thinking about my high school, junior high school people.
It's,
You no more. What's up, y'all out there?
it's really an emotional thing.
I'm telling you. It was writing in my
Yeah.
yearbook. I was like, oh my goodness, I can't even find my yearbook. Some people left their numbers. I tried the numbers don't work for real because
I tried to know to never know. Oh my God.
because that's exactly what's really going on for real. Like people really do grieve some stuff that you think is simple. Like so that's one thing that
Yeah.
I do. But um another question that I have for you, Tiffany, is Epiphany, is why do you think some people hold on to pain longer than others?
I honestly think it varies from person to person, and there's no real timeline, for grieving for any one person. I think it's a process. And, as for me, like, one day I may think that I'm okay, and then something may trigger it. So I may not have felt anything for a year. For instance, one day I was in a store probably about 2 years ago, and a song with Wiz Khalifa came on. Like, it's been a long day. I don't know the other person who's on the song, the person who sings it, but
Mm-hmm.
I just started crying. I had to put everything down and like
Oh,
leave the store. So I don't really think it's a timeline for it. I think it just varies from person to person, and everybody's pretty much different. So like I said, one day you may think that you're okay, and
yes.
then the next day you may not be.
That's so true. That is so very true. And it just hit you out of nowhere. See how it was a song, but do you remember the significance of a song, or it was just a song, or was the words, or was it like a song that you
The
shared?
song was made for an actor that died. So it was with Wiz Khalifa and I don't want to sing it because I'm not a singer, but
Right, right, right,
it's like,
right,
it's
right.
been a long day without you, my friend.
Oh,
And I
yes.
tell you,
I'm
hold up, yeah, that.
gonna about it when I
Yeah.
see you
And it just
again.
played in the song and
Wow.
I just bust out in tears.
Aw. See
Yeah.
how that works, how trigger could be, I mean, how grief could be triggered that way. And
Right.
so for me, um I think it takes some people longer than others because, like you said, it's a case by case basis. But I also think that it also has a lot to do with the mind, like what we're focusing on, what we're thinking about, what type of impact did that person, place, or thing leave on our mind? Like, what was the impression left? Or when you listen to a song or certain lyrics or certain films, like I watch certain movies and think about my mother. Color Purple is the movie, actually. I can't watch that thing for 20 minutes and I can't, stop crying because I used to watch that all the time, for an example. So you just never know. A lot of people just walking around with it. I even joined this grief counseling group, but after a while I couldn't go anymore because it wasn't really my type of crowd. I think representation matters, and certain
Right.
people grieve differently. So I just couldn't go anymore. So sometimes grief support groups, they tell you to join grief support groups and all that stuff. Sometimes that don't work. I don't know if you ever tried, joining a support group or, do anything like that. Or anybody who's watching, have you ever tried? Drop some stuff in the comment. If how do you grieve, or what does grief look like for you? And then I'll share it out loud. So I think that people just hold on to it because it replays in our mind and it's something that you just can't get rid of. So
Yeah, and it goes back to, what I said. It's like losing a limb. Like, if you always had your leg or you always had your arm, you so used to having it, and then you don't have it. Psychologically, it's gonna throw you off.
it's
It's
gonna do
gonna
it.
throw you off. Yeah.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
Whew. All right. So the next question I want to ask you is: can grief awaken purpose or spiritual growth? What do you think about that?
I think it absolutely can. You know, grief for myself, led me to God because before my son passed away, like I had just lost hope for anything that God could do for me. I stopped believing 100%, so it kind of redirected me, back to Him. So it could definitely, redirect you spiritually, you know.
Yes. And losing a child is a pain that I just hope that I won't ever endure. But I talk to other mothers like yourself and mothers that I know and met along my journey. I wouldn't never ever know what to say to a mother who has lost a child. Like this, like what can you possibly say? You know what I mean? Like it seems like nothing can be. But I'm just curious for the people that I do know personally that does watch this. Like what about God help you align to that understanding? Eyes of your other children, like from your eyes of your other children, or what do you think that God woke you up to? Like, when was your turning point? If you can share with us without being too intimate, till you're comfortable, just for mothers who might be watching at home that lost a child.
Okay, so I'll bring you back to bring you forward. So, throughout my childhood, my mother was on drugs. So most of my childhood, I just remember my mother being on drugs. I lived with my grandmother. She was, my guardian as a child. And she went to church. So I would always pray. Like my prayer every Sunday when we went to church is that my mother get off of drugs. So that's what led me to believe after all those years, of praying that my mother get off drugs, that it never happened. So, I kind of was like, okay, there is no God, because why wouldn't he, have my mother, get off drugs? So what happened was, once my son transitioned, because my mother was on drugs all the way up until I had my son, which was in 2000. And in 2003, when he transitioned, my mother instantly was off drugs. No NA, no AA, no program. It was, we went to my husband's church, and my mother been off drugs ever since. No NA,
Wow.
no AA, no nothing. Just cold turkey. My son transitioning gave me my mother. So that
Mm.
led me, back to God. Your screen is actually off too.
Oh wow. Oh no. No. Let me see if I could come back. Hold on. You can still hear me though, right?
I can still hear you.
All right. Let me
It's
see.
perfectly fine if you don't fix it. We'll. Yeah. I don't, I think she went out to try to come back, but yeah, so my belief in God, I knew he was real at that point once he gave me my mother. I won't say he took, but I had to sacrifice losing my son to
Hmm.
gain my mother. So the loss of my son, I gained my mother. So all of those years of me wanting to have my mother, God, I feel like God had to have me birth out, my child in order to save my mother. Because, can you hear me still?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, because even when my son was alive, all he wanted was my mother. He loved my mother so, like, he would cry a lot when he was like, first born, and you can give him to my mother, and he would instantly stop crying. Even on my
Um,
mother's, yep, even on my mother's journey on drugs, we lived with her for a point in time. She would come in maybe 2 a.m., clean his bottles, make his bottles. I'm asleep, he's asleep, but she's making sure that he's good. Some nights he wouldn't sleep until she came. But now,
um,
I have that epiphany, why everything transpired. Sorry for being long winded, but I had to
no,
explain.
no, don't you think you be along with this is good stuff. Wow. Okay, I didn't know all that. Wow, Epiphany. I got a comment here from from Angela watching from Facebook. She says, I'm still dealing with this. I have lost many friends, but losing my mom recently is different. Can't explain it. Yeah, my condolences. She definitely just lost her
I
mom,
can
not even
notice.
4 or 5 months ago. You know what I mean? Thanks
My condolences.
for watching in, Angela. And she also says God is good.
God is
Amen.
good
Amen
all
to
the
that.
time.
Yes. Woo. Mm. So I
Yeah.
guess you said every day is different, and this was your first Mother's Day, Angela, without your mom. Mother's Day, because the same thing with me. Like, it's been almost 12 years since my mother passed away, and I'm like, oh, this Mother's Day, I'm gonna be good. I'm gonna be good. But 12 years later, I boo-hoo so bad. Like, it was worse than any other year. It seemed like, because my oldest brother called me and was like, he's a tough critic. He's very spiritual and stuff like that. So he said, you know what, sis, you're a good mother. Like that, I never heard him tell me that. And that's what made me, he said, mommy did good, but now you're doing good. So that made me even cry even more. So what I'm saying is, like, these 12 years, I'm saying I'm setting myself up. Mother's Day come every year, her birthday come every year, and I'm think I'm good. And then every rising of her birthday, every rising of Mother's Day, I'm still crying like I just lost it. So it does sneak up on you. You don't really know how it's gonna hit you, when it's gonna hit you. I think I'll be good. And then another thing is, when her birthday come, one of my older brothers, they like bells and whistles and balloons and cakes, and I'm just like, leave me alone. I want to be in the corner in the dark reflecting. But it's just like how people grieve differently. And when you're in a family unit and it just so happen to be a family member, how people are like, oh, you're not crying hard enough, or she not grieving, or she didn't love them. Like, all this stuff start coming up too when it comes to that type of stuff. It's like everybody grieves differently. You can't
Yeah.
really gauge how someone's gonna react.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
mm,
But
mm,
what I
mm.
will say is, when those days do come, If you feel like crying, cry. Cry, let it out. I think it's best out than in, because it's only going to harm you more inside than it is, letting it out. That breeds
Yeah.
sickness when you're just holding all of that, inside of you. Just have to just let
Yes.
it out. It's okay to let it out. It's
Yeah.
like I said, it's a real thing, and it affects you in all sorts of ways. Those holidays and stuff that come, those days are hard. It's very hard.
Hmm. And then you don't really know it's hard until you live in those days. And I do believe that it can awaken purpose or spiritual growth because, like, I'm, working on my mother's ministry. She used to like to give food to people. She used to pick up food from the food pantry, kind of like a Meals on Wheels for the seniors or sick or shut in. And that's what I'm going to start in this region in her name, for her legacy. That's a little bit of purpose. And it definitely awakened me spiritual because it led me back to scriptures. Before, I was doing a whole lot of, oh, peace to the gods and everything all around. I got right in that scripture and came right back to mama and everything worked itself out. So it's spiritual, in the sense that, when you're trying to hold on to something that you can't see it, including the loss of somebody, what which I used to do together can kind of lead y'all back, because my mother and I used to Bible study early every time. So it brought me right back to center, right back to being, in her presence and being at home. So definitely could awaken something spiritually. I've been better spiritually because of it. Angela also says, my grants keep me going because my mom was a strong person. So that's who I am. I have my days. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. You're definitely gonna have your days. It's just one day at a time. Me personally, I think that you never completely get over the death of somebody like your mom or your child or someone significant. You kind of, I mean, it's fresh for Angela. Her name is right.
Yes.
Yeah, it's fresh for her, but it's just day by day, one day at a time. Lean into your grandkids, the things that
Hmm.
keep you vibrant and keep you, happy in the moment. But, it's a day by day thing.
Yeah, it's definitely a day by day thing. Wow. Whew. All right. So the next question is, what advice would you give someone who's silently grieving right now? You kind of said it a little bit, but like, she's saying that I'm grieving. This is, I lost my mom. She's saying it, but you got people walking around, they angry, and they bit, and who knows why, what they're going through or what they lost, what people, place, a thing that they lose, what's going on, did they not reach a goal for themselves in life? Maybe they 45 or 55 and they haven't reached someplace. They might be grieving who they were or who they thought they could have been. It's so many things going on. But so the people that are silent about their grief, what advice would you offer them, for people who's grieving silently?
Find a space, or even if it's a person that you can just kind of talk to. You can talk to. That's the best thing that I could say. Or talk to God, go to God, get in an environment where people are, praising God and worshiping God, so you can feel at least happy in the moment. And, it'll try to help you to work through, what's going on in
Mhm.
the inside.
Yes, I like that. And I would add to that and say, I would flow with that and be like, take a walk, or if you can't walk, look out the window. Like, just try to look at something that's living, that's not a human, like a tree,
Yeah.
um,
Hug a tree.
a
Hug a
water,
tree.
hug a tree, hug a tree. I
Yeah,
used to hug
walking,
trees
walking
for
some,
real.
yeah, walking some grass. It feels good. Your energy really feels replenished when you do those things. Yeah,
That's right. Take a walk in nature, because some people might even be struggling with God when something happens like that. Like, but go and be amongst God's creation, like stuff that you can't explain why it's even here, and be around that for a long time. And trust me, it will help. Sometimes you gotta peace be still.
absolutely.
Yes, prayer works.
Yeah, prayer definitely works.
So, pretty much that's all the time that I have today. Oh, before I do go, I do want to ask you this. You didn't know I was going to ask you this. Why this topic?
This,
What was on your heart and mind to talk about this? I mean, besides that, you in divine alignment because May is Mental Health Awareness Month. But like, what, what made you choose the topic out of all topics?
This topic because, my son, like I said, my son died. I think I did mention in 2003, my son transitioned, and I was kind of in that time frame, I was kind of on my own, like I just kind of backed away from everyone, and then maybe 3, 4 years later, I had met you, you was a light in my life, you probably don't know it, but you were,
Oh,
even, spending those little moments with you, driving, listening to music, just the little
oh,
things, those little things like that. And then, a friend of mine, which was my mother's next door neighbor, I started hanging out with her, and it totally made me forget, like what I was feeling inside, like the sadness that I had inside.
yes.
So to say what made me want to talk about this is because she recently transitioned, and she was the
Mhm.
light that brought me out of darkness, and I don't get to share how I feel in a day like today, So it's like I had to reset again. So it's like now I'm kind of back in the grieving process. So I just kind of stayed to myself, So I said,
Mm.
okay, I feel comfortable talking to you. You were a part of that journey. You may have not known it. So who better to talk to about it than you?
Yes. Oh, that is so sweet. But our journey, we've been there for each other. When I almost lost my life back in 2008. So no,
Absolutely.
I did not know that. I did not know that first of all, when you said you lost your son in 2003, right?
2003.
And I'm
And
over
we
here
met
like, wait, didn't we start the academy 4 or 5? It wasn't that long after
we
that.
met in 2006. I
That's
met
what
you
I
May
said. So that was literally
2006.
still fresh. Like, I mean, like that
Yeah,
was
it was
just three
it
years.
was
That was
really
still
fresh.
like you went right back to work and all that. Like
Listen, when my son
you was
transitioned,
working in the
I,
police force. Like, what are you doing coming
listen,
to the
in
academy?
fact,
Like,
listen,
sit
I
that
left
one
my
out,
job
sis. Oh my God.
when he transitioned. I left my job. I never went back to work until I met you. So I hadn't had
Wow.
a job. All my bills was just backed up. Everything just my whole life shifted. So when I met you when we were in the academy, I'm
Mm-hmm.
coming in. And my mindset is okay. I need a job. You know, so I'm here just to get some money. So I can catch
Right.
up and you know that
Aw.
was it. That was what that was about.
Oh wow, that's so significant now. And then, wow, okay, so some few later, I almost lost my life, during childbirth, and you talked me through that. I think like you came in the room and I just said, "Pull a plug." I said something to you like,
Yeah, you was done. You was like, I ain't gonna make it. This is my last day here. And remember, God was just entering in my life. So he gave me those words to
mm,
speak into you. Yeah, right in that moment. I'm just coming with my little balloons or flowers or whatever I have. And I walked in the room and you like, this is it. This is my last day here. Don't nobody come to see me. I'm like,
that's right.
Sparkle, I'm here to see you.
That's right. That's right. And you was like, the
Mhm.
devil is a liar.
The
And you
devil
said
is a
a prayer.
liar.
You said one prayer, one thought spoke life into me, and then that's just how it works. Really, this is how we have to show up for each other. Because I was grieving. I was grieving, not knowing tomorrow, not knowing whether my daughter was going to survive, not knowing whether I was going to survive. The doctors was telling me they didn't know if I was going to survive. So when you was the first person to come visit me, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't want nobody, but that's just wow. This is a full circle moment. Just give me
Mhm.
okay,
Yeah.
wow, all right. This is how God works. So I'm grateful nevertheless. And uh whew. So yeah, you was there for and then when my mom passed in 2014 too, you were one of the few people that
Yeah.
actually came to the services. That meant a lot to me too. Because a lot of people that
Yeah.
I thought would show up, because I have all of these friends, right? A lot of people I thought would show up, they did not show up. But you were there, as usual. So I'm grateful for that too. So you too have helped me through a lot of what I was grieving through to this day and sustaining me, so I'm grateful for that. So, ooh, Tiffany, Epiphany.
It's all God. It's all God.
This
And
is all
and
God.
and death reveals to you who is who. So it teaches you immediately who is who, you know?
Mm,
It teaches you in that moment. Sometimes it's even the process of having a funeral. It shows you who's who. It shows you everything. It reveals everything to you. You may not realize it in that very moment, but later on you'll be able to reflect and be like, oh, you know, yeah.
wow. So this conversation was much needed, obviously. So even for myself, I'll be up here hosting stuff and having all types of people come through, but these conversations, again, losing someone significant, who would have known that this is the conversation that we all could have shared? Angela, thank you for showing up. So I'm gonna put it on a pause for there. But Epiphany, I want to invite you back to the show.
Absolutely.
If you could do 11 a.m. once a month, every other week, I'll take it. There's some other topics that I would like to tackle with you, not necessarily just this one, but anything surrounding sustaining our people and our mental health. There's relationships, how to sustain them, how to be in a relationship with somebody who just have mental health, or how to help a family member who got mental health. There's so many different ways we can go here. Addiction, even good stuff that's happening. There's some good news that's going on too amongst the stuff that's troubling us. We could take a walk down any of these lanes, and I just want you to come back and be a part of the cipher. Say you'll come back on air.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anything for you. Absolutely.
Oh, that's so sweet. All right, Epiphany, thank you for being my co-host for this special edition of SisStar Cipher. We will be back. So today's conversation reminds us that grief does not have one face, one timeline, or one definition. Sometimes healing is loud. Sometimes healing is silent. And sometimes simply waking up and continuing forward is an act of courage all by itself. As we continue recognizing Mental Health Awareness Month, we encourage everyone watching to check on themselves emotionally, mentally, check on your spirit, check on your physical, and to give yourself permission to heal without the shame. Remember, healing is not linear, it's all different ways to heal. Thank you to my beautiful guest co host, Epiphany, for joining me this afternoon, morning, rising, tonight, and helping create a safe space and a meaningful space of reflection, honesty, vulnerability, and now growth. And to everybody watching, if you are carrying the weight of goodbye, please remember this: you are not broken because you are grieving. You are human, and healing is possible, even if it happens one single breath at a time. This has been SisStar Cipher on Reality Speaks TV. I'm your host, Sparkle Denise, reminding you to protect your peace, honor your healing, and keep choosing yourself. Real people, real talk, and real time. Peace and love, everybody.